Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase and this is All Things Rum. Today we're looking at another Pagani design. This one is specifically the Explorer 2 Polar Dial Homage. Now this is not in any way my first Pagani design. Honestly, I think that people are just really harsh on the Chinese market. I'm not a fan of what the Chinese are doing. However, I think that the Chinese market offers a lot of bang for a buck when it comes to their products. So let's just flip the camera around and dive right into this review. Now today we're talking about the Pagani design homage to the Explorer 2 Rolex, and this is of course the polar style dial. Now Pagani design does a lot of homage style watches. In fact, I've done a review on their Pagani design Daytona homage in the past, and honestly it was a pretty good watch for the price. Now that price with a Seiko Mega Quartz was about $80 to $90. This runs about $130, but honestly, I think you get a lot of bang for buck. There's a lot I like about this watch, a lot I don't like about this watch. First, before we really dive in deep, let's do some measurements so you know the size of the watch. Got the calipers out here. Let's go ahead and turn it on, zero it out, and basically the diameter of this watch is just over 42. The thickness is just under 13. The lug to lug is just under 49, and the lug width is just basically right at 20. Now that we've got those basic measurements out of the way, let's talk about the things that are clearly evident about this watch. Now, when we talk about the Rolex Explorer 2 Homage, I have done a review on the actual Rolex Explorer Homage that this is replicating. Now, this is not the newest generation. This is the previous generation. We'll say early 2000s. And I did a review on my brother-in-law's Rolex Explorer 2, and I'll leave a link in a card just up above. Now, there are things, like I said, that I like about this watch that I don't like about this watch. One of the things I like about this watch is it's not a Mega Quartz like the prior Pagani design Daytona that I did, but it is a fully automatic watch. Now, the finishing on this watch is pretty good for the price point of $130. You have brushing along the top, you have high polish along the sides, and you have a high polish along the edge of the bezel with brushing on top. Now the bezel is actually something that I really like. I think they did a good job on a lot of things on this watch, and we'll get into that a little later in the video. A couple negative things, but for the most part, a lot of positive things. Now the end links on this watch are going to be solid end links, as you see right there. The links on the bracelet are also solid links, all brushed, even brush sides, and they offer screw-in links right there. Classic Pagani design clasp, which is milled. Doesn't offer any quick micro adjustments, but does offer 3 micro adjustments right here, but you need a tool to adjust it. Basically, this watch right here, the way it's sized, fits my 7¼ inch wrist. I'll show you that later. I had to take out 5 links and extend this all the way to the end. I took out 4 links in the beginning and then put this all the way to the front, but it was just too loose. So if you have a bigger wrist, there's plenty of links here for you and your bigger wrist. Now let's talk about the movement inside. The movement inside is going to be a DG5833, and it is going to be a GMT movement. Now I'll show you some shots of the back in just a second, but let's talk about the basic functionality. Now, a lot of people complained a few months ago when they got a Pagani design Explorer 2 Homage. Now, I am late to the game, but the good thing is they did offer a screw-down crown for mine. They didn't offer a screw down crown for others. This has a screw down crown. So happy to see it. I got this off Amazon. I got it in like 3 days. So for $130, it's really hard to do worse. Does offer hand winding, pull it out once, and you are able to adjust the date right there. We'll talk about the date in just a second. Then you rotate it the other way and you're able to adjust the GMT hand. Pull it out all the way to the end, and it does offer hacking, which is nice to see. Again, a price point of $130. You have hacking, hand winding, adjustable GMT hand, and it's 130 bucks. I mean, it's really hard to do any worse. And one of the things that I really like about this date is it is a quick change date. Let me see if I'm around the 12. I'm not. Let's go all the way to midnight. And one of the things that I really like is a lot of people, when they buy cheaper watches, $80 watches, $90 watches, $100 watches that have automatic movements, have something like a NH35, which isn't a terrible movement, but the date takes like 2 hours to change over. Now, if I near the midnight watch this, boom, it's a quick change, which is really nice to see at this price point. But there is a few things that I don't like about that date. The first thing that I'm gonna groan about in this review is the fact that the date doesn't line up quite right. Now, some people had an issue when they hit the double-digit numbers that it really sort of sucks up against that wall on the inside. Mine's not the same. The issue that I have with mine sort of sucks up against the top of the date window, doesn't really line up. But that date window does magnify the date quite a bit. In fact, this is one of the best magnifications of the date window that I've seen in quite a long time, especially for a watch around this price point. Most are 1 to 1.5 magnifications. This is at least 2 to 2.5. It's really nice to see. Just sucks that date window doesn't line up quite right. Also, really love the finishing again on the bezel. The bezel is done extremely well. This is a fixed bezel. It is a 24-hour bezel, just like the original Explorer 2. Now, if nobody knows about the Explorer 2, the Explorer 2 Rolex was originally designed for spelunking. Spelunking is like cave diving and cave exploring. So basically what you have is you have a fixed 24-hour bezel, so at any time in the night you can set the GMT hand to a 24-hour position, so you know if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning. And you understand that because, well, you don't have the sun while you're in a cave system. So it's really cool that they have the same similar things, and it's done quite nicely and quite well. Now, it has the Pagani design at the 12 o'clock, and it has GMT automatic water resistant 10 bar or 100 meters at the 6. Now, this is really nice to see because a watch like this, it's nice that it can be taken basically anywhere, especially with a screw down crown. 100 meters of water resistance gets you everyday wear with no problem at all. Now, let's talk about some of the things that I like and I don't like. With a loom on this is nothing to write home about, and honestly, there's so many videos that have to do with the loom. It is so underwhelming, it's not even worth showing it on camera. It's extremely underwhelming. Now, it is an ice blue, but it's so light in its illumination that, like I said, it's not even worth showing. The date window does not line up. That is also a groan. And then if you look right here, just at the pip at the 4 o'clock position, you can see that there's a speck of black that has gone through the quality control. So clearly the QC on this is not the best. However, when you have something like an awesome bezel that's done to the best of their ability on this, the hands are done well, the GMT hand is done well, all the other pips are placed extremely well. The loom sucks, the finishing is great, solid in links, solid links, a milled clasp. Honestly, when you're asking for a watch with a GMT function, automatic, for under $140. It's really hard to beat this watch. It gives you everything that you want. This is the watch on my 7¼ wrist. You can see that that footprint is not bad at all for my wrist. Again, I took out 5 links to get this thing to fit as well as it does. But the crappy thing is it doesn't offer any quick adjust micro adjustment, but it does offer a quick adjust right there if you need a good solid 5 or 6 millimeters. But this is not a dive watch, so I thought it was kind of funny that it had a sort of diver's extension there. But other than that, I mean, the footprint on this watch is nice. Honestly, it doesn't fit overly big. It's not overly small. Honestly, I think it fits actually perfectly on the wrist. It's really hard when you have a Rolex that has the glide lock clasp to go with any steel bracelet that doesn't have one, because if your wrist gets cold, it gets loose, it falls down around your hand. If it's hot, like today, this is fitting a little snug because it's hot here in the studio. But honestly, again, like $140. This thing looks so much more expensive than that. So much more expensive. And honestly, the timekeeping on this is pretty good. I've had this for about a week. I'm getting plus or minus, I would say about 15 seconds a day, plus 15 seconds a day, which is really good for this movement. In fact, I'm really surprised. Again, you could do much worse. Now, what do you guys think about this watch? Do you think the cons outweigh the pros, or do you think the cons are just too much and it's not worth it in the first place? Honestly, for me, the pros really outweigh the cons. Yes, there is a piece of dust or whatever on the dial right next to that 4 o'clock indices, but is it really a big deal? Honestly, when is the date not lining up exactly really a big deal? Honestly, for $130, $140, it's really hard to find anything that offers a quick change date. It's really hard to find something that offers a GMT function that allows you to adjust the GMT hands separately. Like in the past, I've done a review on the Vostok Amphibia GMT, and honestly, that is a slave GMT hand for the 24 hours, so it doesn't move at all. It's just another time zone that is just a 24-hour marker. It doesn't actually work. It's slave attached to the hour hand. That was like $100. And yeah, it does have 200 meters of water resistance, but this has 100 meters of water resistance. It offers decent finishing, solid inlinks, solid links, a milled clasp, and yeah, it doesn't offer micro adjustment on the fly, but honestly, neither do a lot of other watches at higher price points. So for me, honestly, I think it's absolutely worth the money. Especially, like I said, if you want something that's similar to a Rolex Explorer 2 Polar Dial, you just want the feel of it. You're like, I'm not really sure. Do I want to spend a premium right now on a brand new one, or a premium or on even a used one? Maybe what I'll do is I'll spend $130, $140 on Amazon, get it prime, and I'll just see how it feels on my wrist. If I don't like it, well, I can resell it, and I'm only out like 20 bucks if I resell it. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Now, if you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment, like I said, down below of the content you guys would like to see on this channel. I have a lot of videos coming in the future. Make sure you guys are hitting that notification bell so you can be notified when I drop that next video. Until next time.